I'm Dave. I'm from Rollerball. I've been around a few years, but not as active as we used to be. But we still get out on special occasions and rock. And we're finally doing a 25-year anniversary little run of shows. Only 4 shows. We're keeping it simple, and we just want to sort of get with the fans again, spend a bit of time with them, and celebrate rock and roll.
Beautiful, Dave. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, brother.
Yeah, mate, it's a pleasure. My pleasure.
As you say, Rollerball are dusting off the cobwebs to celebrate your silver anniversary with a run of 4 shows starting at Mo's Desert Clubhouse on the Gold Coast on April 28th, before heading to Newtown and Collingwood and finishing in Brisbane on May the 13th. So, as you say, it's short and sweet, but that's all you need, isn't it?
Yeah, we would have liked to done more shows, but we just sort of had a window to work with, and I guess we're a little out of touch because years ago you could book gigs in Australia 6 weeks beforehand. It looks like you've gone the European direction now. Maybe, I don't know if that's after the COVID break or it was like that before, but things were booked miles ahead. So we're pretty happy to have what we have.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Just yeah. For a band that's been around for 25 years, bro, like you haven't got much to show for it with just 4 albums and a handful of EPs. So it just sort of shows the value of quality over quantity any day, doesn't it?
Well, we were only really active between 98 and 2009 as far as, that's basically everything. Then we just came together in 2019 and did a little 20-year anniversary of the first EP tour. We planned to do one probably, I think we sort of had it penciled in to go 21 just for the hell of it, but obviously that didn't happen. So, we're definitely not an active band, and we're not pretending to be. It's basically... It's 25 years since we started, so we're not really celebrating 25 years of active rock and roll. We sort of packed enough into that first 11 years that we were pretty active, and like we were very active for a while there, like on the road a lot of crazy things, had a good time, and we probably were about 1 LP short of what we ideally should have been at that time. And that basically we made a record in 2004 called Oversize, and then there was a pause, and we make the other record didn't come out to 2009, and so we're about a record short. So we would have had a pretty good body of work if we'd had one more LP for those 11 years. I would have been happy with it.
Yeah. In the modern age of music, mate, like having so few albums and releases, I guess it'd almost be like musical suicide by not releasing a constant stream of music. So I guess that's probably one big change in the music industry since Rollerball started. Like back then, you put out one album every 2 years and you tour it. But these days, unless you've got something constant coming to people all the time, their attention span's that small, they forget about you.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically, we were right at the end of the classic, label radio setup. You know what I mean? We only made records that other people paid for, and if we didn't have a record deal and people didn't pay for us to go, we never would have recorded anything. That was the whole sort of idea of the band, and that was very possible in those days. You could actually always find willing participants who wanted to sponsor what you did. We signed deals. I had a published deal with Universal for a while, which is a very old-fashioned concept, where they actually handed you lots of money to sign a paper. I guess there was no social media. When we started, I remember the last year we sort of active, we got a Facebook page up, but none of us were interested in the internet. We had no belief in digital recording or anything like that. So, a lot has changed. So we're right at the end of that sort of thing where people are still selling, CDs, and social media wasn't so important. And I guess, don't get me wrong, I've come a long way since then. I've actually embraced all the modern things, and I understand what you mean about the, people release something every 6 months, or even if it's an EP, or they don't release albums, they release a string of singles, etc., etc. So, so I'm still doing active myself in other projects, so I get it. But with us, it's just like we're meat and potatoes. We did what we did, and celebrating. And getting a lot of feedback from people. They sort of did like sort of simpler approach. It's probably better nowadays that people have got freedom with releasing stuff on their own. You don't have to be a slave to the people who are basically like musical bankers, like it used to be, and then get about a 5% profit at the end to make money for other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely it's not a disaster these days with the whole rock, the online freedom thing. I'm making the most of it myself, but yeah, it is what it is, and we'll embrace it.
Yeah, it's the only way to go, man. So, seeing it's your 25th anniversary, it's only fitting to take a bit of a trip down memory lane, bro. So, Rollerball formed in West Burleigh on the Gold Coast in 1998. So, what was the climate like that back then that gave birth to the band, and where did you fit in initially?
It's kind of funny, like we were basically influenced by a lot of different things. Like I was into a lot of this heavy 70s metal, and I love Aussie pub rock as well. Our singer Tenpin, he was basically real Seattle. He loved that kind of whole grunge movement, and I think he based his sound subconsciously or not on that whole grunge. So when we came together, it sort of made a bit of a unique blend, because I was right. I to be honest, I hated all that kind of 90s grunge thing, and I was really living in the past. I was really just focusing on 70s rock, and then of course came Monster Magnet and Fu Manchu and bands like that, Caius, and that sort of gave me a bit more faith in having a fresher approach to things. But what's my point here? I'm rambling as usual. No, basically, we got signed up. We were on a small label, but we got publishing deals and got sort of interest and a bit of radio play, basically because of the thing that happened with the Vines and Jet and bands like that, which is funny enough. We sound nothing like them. There's no real relation. But basically, when those bands got popular in the States, a lot of people wanted to throw money around in Australia for a little while and sort of grab up whatever they could, like sort of getting a bit, putting their chips or different numbers on the table, so to speak, and see what they could cover and see if it paid off. Definitely didn't pay off financially for them with us, but but yeah. We were like little Triple J darlings for a little while, which also sat pretty strange that we got a lot of regular airplay in there. We appreciated that, and it was good, and it really helped push our tours along and opened the door for a lot, better venues and bigger gigs and festivals and bigger supports. So I don't think Triple J is quite what it was then.
Not a patch on what it is now, mate.
Yeah. I live in Switzerland these days, so I'm a little bit out of the loop. I guess it's not so hard to keep on top of things with the internet or whatever, but I am a little bit out of the loop. But if I ever check in on Triple J for a minute or two, it doesn't last long. I'm probably there for
last a minute or two.
30 seconds maybe.
Yeah. So your style of music, like, while popular and well represented these days, was sort of more underground and selective back then. So did you find it hard initially to get people to connect with the music you were playing?
At that time, no, I think it sounded, it was so fresh. A lot of people, what we were doing, even though we weren't doing anything special or really unique, I think with bands like Caius and Monster Magnet, we're sort of just getting a bit of an underground scene going internationally, and we played with those bands, and Queens of the Stone Age and Nebula. Like when these bands came to Australia, we got the opportunity to open for them. So therefore, we were playing to the perfect market for what we did, and then we'd go on strange tours like with the Screaming Jets and things like that, and play to the pub rock crowds as well, and play at Bathurst and play that sort. So we were sort of mixing all that up. We had this Triple J thing going on, and then whatever. I think people just appreciated the simplicity of it. It was just basic hard rock, and we weren't trying to be too pretentious or anything. It wasn't about anything more than the rock itself. We certainly weren't trying to look pretty.
You sort of touched on this before, bro, but you followed a simple but effective formula of combining 70s rock and metal with classic Australian rock. So was that more of a manufactured sound for you guys, or did it come naturally?
I wrote 90% of that stuff I wrote with Matt Tempin, the singer, and we just had a combination of things. So I'd be writing music that I wanted to play myself, which is primarily this sort of 70s rock. But then I'd get a little bit confused, and I'd want, 1 minute I'd be writing like some kind of like an early Judas Priest style song, and then the next thing I'd be trying to write some kind of Aussie pub rock thing. And I definitely, personally, that's my fault. I personally got a bit lost between genres sometimes. And if you listen to our music, there isn't really a solid direction there. I guess I couldn't decide if we were going to be that one or the other. I've had that problem my whole life. I just like too much different music.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like Neil Diamond. I like Slayer. I'm open, you know what I mean? And I find that it's really hard for me to just sit in a bit of a pigeon hole down. And I guess I started off wanting to be this real 70s thing that sort of drifted into an Oz rock thing, and back and it's sort of tilted back and forth. I never really knocked down a solid direction. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
So as you said before, man, like your last full album, Submarine, came out back in 2009. So have you spoken about recording anything new since then, or are you just comfortable with your existing catalogue?
Yeah, well, we have had some very light discussions.
Very light?
On it. Yeah, light discussions, it's not big. We haven't had meetings about that. We've just had light discussions. So it's possible we could do something at some point. I know a lot of bands don't like to get together and just play songs and do the nostalgia thing. But for me, like coming over here and playing the songs from, whether it's 2009 or 98, and just seeing the reaction of the people who are into that music and sort of sharing that moment with the crowd and having a bit of a sing-along, I'm getting a lot of satisfaction out of that. And I'm not really, like, I do write a lot of music and I play a lot of different projects and things like that in Europe. I don't know, it happened, but it's not like we're failing to do it. It could just be that we get together sometimes and play. This could be the last tour we ever do. I don't know. There's definitely no big plans for this band. We say, let's get together and do some shows, and we do them. And it depends on the reaction. If people really enjoy it and we enjoy these next gigs, then maybe in a year or so we'll do some more. But yeah, there's no real big plan to record. It would be nice, but I don't know. We'll see.
I see. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere today too that you have managed to dig up some the last remaining physical copies of Lost in Space, Superstructure, and Broken Open, which you will be getting rid of at these shows. Is that right?
Yeah, well, a lot of people ask for physical media. They love it. It amazes me. We had a record on our last tour. We had Volcano Vinyl did a limited pressing of sort of like an anniversary version of our first EP with bonus tracks, and that was great. And we got rid of some other European CDs that we had last time. But I hit up MGM, who were the distributor for the record label that we worked with back in the day, and they've had a lot of stuff sitting in their warehouse because it's not in shops anymore, and nobody sort of goes looking for it on their website. Like if you go to MGM, you could type it in the search engine and you'd find it, and you could have literally ordered it, but no one sort of had that information. So they've just been sitting in the basement there. So we just sort of snapped them all up, and we thought, let's get them to the people who actually want them.
So are they got to be like given out as keepsakes, or are they on sale?
No, they're on sale.
Yeah,
they're on sale, and we won't be trying. Our whole thing, we're not trying to make lots of money. We just want to, like, we're trying to keep our ticket prices low. We keep our merch prices low. We just basically want to have a good time with the fans and get everyone coming away feeling good from their show. Yeah. That's the big vibe.
Out of interest, bro, like, did one of your album covers have the writing in green, like a lime green?
Yeah, that was the Submarine.
Oh yeah, well, I was at the show then when that album came out. It was at a pub somewhere between Brisbane and Gold Coast in a car park.
So Submarine tour 2009, we probably only played about 20 shows to support that record or something like that.
Yeah, I was one of them because I've just got this vivid memory of the bright green in my head on the album cover.
Yeah,
I remember it was a fucking good album.
It's that's the artwork from a guy called Alex von Wilding, who's a guy from Hamburg, who I've worked with on a lot of projects. A really cool artist. We really like him a lot. So that's why we got him to do that Submarine record. Basically, it's a Ford Falcon submarine.
All right, yeah.
You know, we're really highbrow stuff.
So there's going to be probably hopefully a lot of people come to these shows that haven't actually seen you guys before, mate, that have just like heard stuff about you. So for those people, what can they expect from a Rollerball live show?
Well, definitely energy. I'm sure, you know, we're getting to our fifth now, but I guarantee you that, you know, we get on the stage, we get a little bit excited. So it's definitely going to be energetic. Might have to warm up the muscles a bit more than we used to do it.
Stretches.
But, you know, the good thing is, but when we recorded, we never did you know, there's not too much crazy overdubbing, whatever with our records. They're always pretty simple. So you pretty much get the same thing when you go to a show. You're not missing too much between the live act and the studio. So if people dig something on the album and think, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind going and checking them out, then they probably will get what they expect. You know, there's definitely, we never liked light shows and things like that. I always preferred to have sort of, you know, a bit of a dim lit stage where people can see you, rather than like have some kind of laser show or whatever. There's nothing gets triggered, or, you know, we just keep it very simple. It's meat and potatoes.
Very cool. Well, there's only two things I remember about you guys, mate. One was the green cover on the album, and the other was that the show was fucking insane. So if that's anything to go by, mate, it's going to be a ripper of a chore. But she kicks off, as we say, at Most Desert Clubhouse on April 28th. Then where can people find out more information and get tickets from, bro?
Well, if you go to our Facebook page, you know, Rollerball Rock on the old Stalker book, all the links are there to the venues, etc. As far as I know, none are sold out yet. Some of them are getting close, but you know, they're not big venues. The Zoo's probably the biggest venue we're playing. We prefer, you know, when there's a good solid 300 people that come and see you, we're stoked, you know what I mean? And if there are people who really enjoy it and they want to get involved, sing along, you know, it's cool like that. So you can find it through our Facebook page or Instagram. We don't have a website anymore. That we sort of never were good at that anyway. We sort of started we used to have a website, then we thought, what's the point of it? You know,
true.
Stalker book's enough.
Yeah, mate, that's hard enough to keep up with these days, isn't it? All right, bro. Well, thanks for your time, man. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I'm going to be at the Most Desert Clubhouse show on April 28th, so I'll come up and say hi and have a beer.
Good on you, Kris. I appreciate that, mate. I appreciate your time, and hope your listeners enjoyed it. And yeah, see you there, mate.